All right, now we have one more rule to look at today with derivatives, and that's the quotient rule. And this is whenever you're taking a derivative of, say, like a rational function. Here it's represented as f of x divided by g of x, which is fine. Or you could just say it's one function that has a numerator and a denominator. But here will be the rule. You'll take the derivative of the numerator and multiply it times the denominator in its original form, and then you'll subtract the numerator in its original form times the derivative of the denominator, shown here, g prime. And that will all be over the denominator squared in its original form. Okay, so let's try this out. Here again, they call this h of x. We're going to represent h of x as being f of x here divided by g of x here in the denominator. Okay, so for f, if you looked at f prime, or the derivative of f, what we would have is the 3 here in the power would come multiply with the 4, and so 4 times 3 would be 12. X to the power of, and 3 minus 1 is 2, so it'd be the power of 2. So that's f prime. And now let's find g prime. G prime will equal, we take the 2 here, the power, and multiply in the front, and right now we only have 1x squared. So the coefficient 1 would multiply with 2. So we have 2x, and the power of 2 minus 1 is 1. So you don't even have to put the 1. The constant disappears. So here's my derivative. Now, in a moment, we will need g squared. So g of x squared, if I use these brackets, what that will be is x squared minus 2 squared, which we could FOIL that out and say that, and then we will put together what the derivative will end up being. Will be x squared minus 2 times x squared minus 2. And if you FOILed all that out, I'm getting x squared times x squared, which is x to the 4th, and then minus 2x squared, another minus 2x squared, and then minus 2 times minus 2 is a positive 4. We could simplify that and say, okay, all of that will be x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 4. That right there is g of x quantity squared, or the function g squared is what that is right there. Okay, with that, let's find h prime. So if we want to know h prime, what the formula said is you take the derivative of f, which is the 12x squared, and we're going to multiply that with the original function g, which is the denominator up there, x squared minus 2. And then you subtract the original function of f, which is 4x cubed, times the derivative of g, which is g prime here, 2x. All that will be over the denominator squared, which we said was going to be x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 4.
Time for Skyline intake. It is now 8:30. Time for Skyline intake.
Okay, now let's distribute here. We will have 12x squared times x squared is 12x to the 4th minus 24x squared when I distribute the 12x squared times the negative 2. And now I have, this is just going to be one simple multiplication. It'll be negative 8x to the 4th. Again, all of this is over x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 4. Okay, and now I can see I have common terms here. So if I wanted to combine my like terms, 12x to the 4th minus 8x to the 4th will be 4x to the 4th, 4x to the 4th, minus 24x squared. All this is over x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 4. And you could factor out, you could do a GCF up in the numerator just to kind of simplify and to try to factor. So, I mean, this here would be factored form for the denominator. You can look to see if anything will cancel. So I'll start with the numerator here. I see that 4 is common all the way across the numerator, as well as that x squared. So I'll factor out 4x squared. If I do that, 4x to the 4th divided by 4x squared, it leaves me with just x squared remaining. And then over here, When you divide by 4x squared, we're left with a minus 6. Now, unfortunately, that does not cancel. Even if I rewrote the denominator in this form, you'll see that the factors do not cancel with one another. I will leave it here in this form so you can see it both standard form and factored form. So this would be h prime here in factored form. And this right here would be h prime in standard form. So it depends on which form you want it in, how you would write your answer. But there, I gave it to you in two separate forms so you could see it as factored form. I'll write that out. Factored form, factored form. And this up here is what we call standard form. Where a standard form is where everything has been fully multiplied and your powers decrease in power as you go left to right. Okay, let's try part B. Let's try this again. And so now I'm going to look at this function, and for short, I want you to know that you could just call this f. You don't have to write f of x all the time. You could just write f and g and call this function together h. So I'll write it that way. So let's talk about f prime. F prime here. If I took the derivative with respect to x, the 3 would multiply the x, and this would become a squared because the 3 minus 1 is 2. And then for g prime, the 2 becomes a coefficient, 2x to the first power. This constant also disappears with the derivative, so that's gone. And so finally, let's find out g of x, the function squared, and which means I would take x squared plus 1, and I would square that. And if I FOIL that out, see x squared plus 1. I'm going to go a little bit faster with my algebra this time. I'll let you, if you need to pause it and try this yourself, fully distributing that or FOILing out. But what we'll have is x to the 4th. This will be x squared and another x squared. So we'll have 2x squareds, 2x squareds, and then 1 times 1 is 1. And so that's how that will distribute all the way through if you want to find that. Okay, so now that I have these values, we're going to use the to find the derivative of h here, since it's a rational function or a function that can be represented by f divided by g. We are going to use the quotient rule, which states that h prime will equal f prime 3x squared times the denominator, x squared plus 1, minus f x to the 3rd minus 4 times g prime, which is 2x. I guess I don't need to put that in parentheses since it's just a single term. And all this will be divided by g squared, x to the 4th plus 2x squared plus 1. Okay, so let's distribute out the numerator. See what we come up with when I distribute those values here. We will have 3x to the 4th power plus 3x squared. And now I need to distribute the negative here through. Be very careful. So I'm going to actually kind of treat this as a negative x cubed. No, you know what? I'm going to do it like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this away. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll just distribute this portion, and I'm going to write this in a new bracket here. So I have x cubed times 2x, which would be 2x to the 4th, and I put the minus right there. And now I will have negative 4 times 2x, which is negative 8x. And so now, as I try to combine my like terms, it will need to remember to distribute this negative through. And so here comes the standard form. I can see I'll have 3x to the 4th minus 2x to the 4th, which will leave me with 1x to the 4th. And so again, let me change colors here so you can see I need to distribute the negative there and here. Okay, so to keep track of everything. So we'll have 1x to the 4th because I have 3x to the 4ths minus 2x to the 4ths, which is 1x to the 4th. And then I'll have a 3x, positive 3x squared. And then a negative of a negative is a positive 8x. All of this is divided by x to the 4th plus, whoops, forgot the 2x squared plus 1. This would be the standard form of h prime. And if you wanted factored form, oops, come on, new color. If you want a factor form in the numerator, we can look across and see that x, we have a factor of x all the way through, so I could factor out that x, and we're left with x cubed plus 3x plus 8. All of this would be divided, and the denominator we know comes from this factor of x squared plus 1 quantity squared. And so that would be the factored form. You could write your answer in either way. So you could write it whichever way you want. Leave it like that. Again, standard form, factored form. So this right there is the standard form. I'll just say standard form. And then here we'll call that factored form. Now that you've seen me do this twice, I'm going to let you try one. Pause the video if you need more time here. I want you to find the derivative of h given this equation here. Pause the video if you need more time.